And the next topic today comes to us from Jack Spittle, who writes, with the unfortunate event that has occurred in Las Vegas, Ryan Murphy has come to a decision in not airing a scene in his newest season of American Horror Story Cult, which involved a mass shooting. While I can understand editing it out, is it really necessary to remove the scene that could cause distress than to just place a disclaimer in front of it? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And hey, it's a great question. In light of everything that's gone on in Vegas, with, I guess it's the worst mass shooting in the history of the country, American Horror Story Cult made the decision to pull a scene that showed a mass shooting. I applaud them for that. I think that's very culturally sensitive. I applaud them for doing it. I understand their reasons for doing it. Do I think it's necessary or required for them to pull that scene out? Actually, no. I don't think it's required or absolutely necessary. Now, you may say, but John, like we just faced this horrible, tragedy. Absolutely. I'm not denying that at all. And I applaud their decision to take the scene out. I think that's a great decision. I think that's very noble of them to do. But at the same time, had they decided to leave that scene in there, because remember, they shot that scene before the events of Las Vegas. It's not like the events of Las Vegas happened and say, oh, that gives me an idea. Let's make a mass shooting scene. It's not like that happened. They had already made the scene. So if they had decided to leave the scene in, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. And the basis for me not having a problem with it, had they decided to leave it in, and again, I applaud that they took it out, is that art is about reflecting life. Art is about putting a mirror up to ourselves as a culture and as a world and as a people and seeing it reflected back at us. Here's a thing. My argument would be this. If you make the argument that you have to take out any scene in a movie or a television show that kind of reflects or is similar to a tragedy that has happened in real life, if you say that, then you can never have a scene in any TV show or movie with a car accident. You can never have a scene in any television or movie with a character having cancer. Like, hey, look, 58, 59 people died in Las Vegas. The worst mass shooting in history. It's horrible. Do you know how many people die every day in car accidents? 38,000 people in the United States alone died in 2015 from car accidents. 38,000. That's over 120 people a day. Every single day, 120 people in this country die in a car accident. And that's horrible, and that's tragic, and that destroys families, and that destroys lives, and all that kind of stuff. Does that then mean, well, since there's so much tragedy and so many more people out there who have been touched by the tragedy of automobile accidents, does that mean that in the stories we tell, we should never have automobile accidents? I reject that thinking, because I think part of the responsibility of art is to reflect life in all of its good and all of its terribleness sometimes. I think that's what brings value to the art. Again, I applaud the decision to take that scene out. I think that was very noble of them to do, and I understand their reasons for doing it, and I think it's great. I'm just saying that I wouldn't have been opposed to the idea had they decided to leave it in, because number one, they didn't film it as a result of Las Vegas. It was already done. And part of number two, it is unfortunate in this country, the United States of America, that this sort of thing is not all that rare. And I mean, it's horrible to say that, but it is part of life. And it is part of what has happened in our culture and in our society. And again, my argument is simply that if we say, well, there was a terrible tragedy, we shouldn't have anything in our art that resembles it, then again, how many people die every year of cancer? How many people die every year of car accidents? How many people die every year of this or of that or of the other? I mean, it's just, I think we've got to be very careful about giving the artists and the studios and the television networks the freedom to decide if they should leave scenes like that in their movies or in their shows, or give them the option to not have them in there. I'm just against the idea of us thinking that you must take that sort of content out. But John, people who are affected by Las Vegas, might be deeply troubled by seeing that in there. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that. But by the same logic, again, I'll keep going back to the same example. You show a car accident, you've got 1 million people that were personally affected by the events of a car accident somewhere. So if we're going to draw a line, you've got to be willing to follow through with that logic. So, I mean, it's a tough question. It's a big question. It's a question that kind of is within the realm of movies and entertainment. What do we do? But it kind of transcends beyond that as well. It's a human question. And I just think we need to be thoughtful about it. And maybe we'll come to different conclusions. I'm not sure. But it's a great conversation to have. Thank you so much for the question. Those are just my 2 cents on it. Maybe you guys have a totally different way of seeing it. Jump into the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the next question.